On a motion by Mr. Hasty, the Senate bill is before the House. The Senate bill is advanced. The governor's message is at the desk. The clerk will read.
I hereby certify to an immediate vote Andrew M. Cuomo, Governor.
An explanation has been requested. Mr. Levine.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, everyone. One of our own, former Assemblyman Theodore Roosevelt, who would become president in 1905, sent a message to Congress. And he said, "No enemy of free government is more dangerous and none so insidious as the perception that the dollar speaks louder than the vote." He called for a ban on all contributions by corporations to any political committee for any political purpose. And in 1907, Congress gave him that law, and that remained the law of the land for nearly a century. But over the years, and thanks to Supreme Court decisions like Buckley and Citizens United, Roosevelt's efforts and the efforts of those who believe in good government were frustrated to the point that big money today rules every bit as much as it did politically during the Gilded Age. But today, poor Roosevelt must be spinning in his grave at the thought of what's going on. But today, you and I are going to take some meaningful steps, significant steps, that are going to help our great former president from Long Island to rest a little more easily in peace. And that's because today, you and I are going to enact the most powerful protections in the nation to date against the corrosive effect of the misguided Citizens United case. And we New Yorkers will once again be first in the nation and yet again lead the nation in safeguarding our citizens from the corrupting influence of money and special interests in government. So the bill before us is composed of 11 separate components, and I'm going to describe very briefly what they are. But if anyone has a question, I'm very happy to discuss these things. And as my colleague from Western New York knows, I'm also a country boy full of corn, and I can talk till the cows come home. So this is what it does. It's going to coordinate and define and strengthen the prohibitions on the coordination between independent expenditure committees and candidates and their agents. And it lists some specific examples, but those are by example only. Secondly, it defines and makes it more comprehensible as to the manner in which housekeeping accounts are to operate. It provides some definite instructions as to what to do to close down campaign committees, especially after a candidate has passed away. It deals with sources of funding disclosures for 501c3s and 4s in certain circumstances. It imposes a penalty of $10,000 on lobbyists who engage in contingency fee arrangements, which are prohibited. Deals with in-kind disclosures. It deals with issue advocacy disclosures, and it deals with political consultants. And it clarifies a couple of troubling issues that were presented by the Joint Commission on Public Ethics. And one of them had to do with an opinion by the JCOPE director that put a chilling effect on journalists who spoke with people who represented interests. So this clarifies that lobbying does not cover those who have special interests or any interests who deal with or speak with journalists. That's professional journalists and newscasters. Also clarifies due process rights at JCOPE hearings and clears up some JCOPE reform issues. Finally, while we all know that there may be some resistance to this plan, we also know that 80% of the American public, in a recent Rasmussen poll, are convinced that wealthy special interests have too much influence in government. Oddly enough, only 3%, a statistical inconsequence, feel otherwise. So we're going to pass this bill. We're going to make things better. And somewhere, some way, somehow, Roosevelt will have a big smile as he looks down upon us. And I want to thank the Speaker. I want to thank all the members of this House and staff for working so hard to put this together. Thank you.
Read the last section.
This act shall take effect immediately.
The clerk will record the vote. Mr. Goodell to explain his vote.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I agree with the sponsor that big money is a big problem. In fact, it's been a really big problem for me to get any of that big money. My concern on this is that the biggest money in New York State politics, though, is not touched at all by this. NYSED, as you know, typically spends around $4 million during an election campaign. I think they're one of the largest sources of outside campaign funds, not touched at all by this. Pay to play, you know, where a lobbyist is seeking our vote, or a contractor who has business with the state seeking our vote, not touched at all. And so while I appreciate the discussion about the need to limit big money from corporations, we are completely ignoring all the other corrupting funds that dwarf that money and come from other sources. So hopefully next year, maybe we'll address those issues. And in the meantime, if any of you have any suggestions on how I can access some of that big money, please let me know. Thank you.
I'll be having breakfast in McDonald's.
Are there any other votes? Announce the results.
Ayes 114, noes 0.
The bill is passed. So, for keeping everyone here so early in the morning, I guess I'll start out by saying I never meant to cause you any sorrow, and I never meant to cause you any pain. But I do want to thank everybody who's here for what I believe was a truly productive session. To my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, I commend you for your dedication to the communities you serve. But many of the things that we were able to achieve this year we're very proud of. Paid family leave benefits for every worker, a stronger minimum wage, meaningful ethics reform, finally pension forfeiture, a stronger foundation for our students, a $1.4 billion investment in education, expanding college access. For those of us in the lower region of the state, MTA funding. We also dealt with upstate parity on transportation. Many, many things for us to be proud of. And for me personally, we also became the first state in the nation to enact a dedicated plan to improve the outcomes for young boys of color in funding My Brother's Keeper. But with that, the comments are going to be very brief, but it takes a village to run the people's house, so I just want to quickly acknowledge the Assembly Majority's village. First, I want to thank Majority Leader Joe Morelli, who has been a wonderful, wonderful partner. Minority Leader Brian Cole, who we'll come back to in a minute. The guy who makes me look even shorter than I am, Speaker Pro Tem Jeff Aubrey. Our wonderful Chairman of Ways and Means, Denny Farrell. To Brian Coyne and the Legislative Service Team. To Randy Bluth and the Bill Drafting Commission. To Blake Washington and the wonderful staff of Ways and Means. To Luann Saccone and the Program and Council team. To my councils, Kathleen O'Keefe, Howard Vargas, Joseph Garber, and the Majority Council team. Michael Kane, who we hope is doing well in his recovery. Morgan Weinberg and the Conference Services team. All of our committee chairs for their stewardship of our legislation through this year. You can clap for them. Oh, I'm not going to name all of them. We'll be here for another hour or so. Our press team, Michael Weiland and Kerry Bechet. Our Director of Administrative Services, John Wellspeak. And the rest of the wonderful support staff and the maintenance crew, we thank you very much. To my personal staff, Paul, Issa, Kim, Anita, and John, I want to thank you as well. And before we get to the last person I want to thank, first I want to recognize Steve Fink, one of our photographers who's retiring. I don't even know if he's still, oh, there he is. And I want to also mention Blair Davis, who's doing like any good husband does. He's following where his wife tells him to go, who's leaving us to move to Long Island. So just want to recognize Blair Davis as well. And certainly, last but not least, Mr. Wayne Jackson, John and the Chamber Sergeants. And I know we did this, I'm not sure the days are passing. I don't know if we did this yesterday or the day before, but I do want to mention the members who are closing their final session with us today. Assemblymember James Brennan, Assemblymember Annette Robinson, Assemblymember Phil Goldfeder, Assemblymember Michelle Schimmel, Assemblymember James Tedesco, Assemblymember Jeanette Dupre, Assemblymember Stephen Katz, Assemblymember Angela Wozniak. We wish you all of the best in your next chapters of your life. But I wasn't sure. Lastly, we bid a farewell to a beloved friend and colleague early this year. I would like to propose that we adjourn the 2016 session in love and memory of Barbara Clark. Thank you, and God bless you all. Mr. Morelli.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think there's one person that we haven't thanked, but I do want to thank my colleagues Jane and Tom and Brian and all my colleagues who I get to serve with. It's an extraordinary honor. Thank you for your cooperation and for your friendship. But, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you. Your leadership, your stewardship of this House has been extraordinary. I often say the one thing that I find remarkable about you is that you truly follow that old adage that there's no I in team. And you have led this body with great distinction. You have continued the great progressive traditions of the Assembly. You're a great speaker, but as I often say, you're an even better friend. So God bless you and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Cole.
Wasn't sure anymore. By the way, Joe Morelli promised that we would be done by 4 a.m. Joe? You were close. All right. I'm going to try to wrap this up within an hour. Mr. Speaker, I'm only kidding, relax. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity. First and foremost, on behalf of the Assembly Republican Conference, I would first like to start off with the members of our staff, not only in Albany, but throughout New York State. I'm very proud of all the work that they do to help all the members and support us in being here, standing up for the issues we really believe in. So first and foremost, I would like to thank every single staff member that works on behalf of our conference. Thank you very much for all that you do for us. Second of all, I won't go through all the entire names in this particular case, but certainly, Mr. Speaker, as you have working with you, I am very blessed and grateful for the folks that work with me so closely in 933/340 that, quite frankly, in the last 7 years, you know, you're just, when you stop to think about how blessed and lucky you can be to work with a great bunch of people that support me as leader of our conference and also support all the members of our conference, I just got to tell you that I just can't say thank you enough to all those folks that directly work on behalf of myself and our conference in 933/340, and I would like to thank them for their dedication, loyalty, and hard work on behalf of all of us with our conference. I have a couple individual shout outs. As I mentioned, all of our staff are great, and I can't mention every single one of them, but at this time of year and throughout the year, there are a couple folks I would like to point out. 3 people I'd like to start to mention that deal with all our local bills and all the legislative side that we deal with. And I would like to acknowledge 3 people in no particular order: Jason Kehoe, Ed Wick, and Kevin Engel. Thank you very much, gentlemen. And in the last couple of years, there's a young woman that has worked so hard on behalf of our conference, a very quiet strength that I would say that is just demonstrated true professionalism, true commitment, and an unbelievable job and a very difficult job. I would like to thank Michelle Allegri for all of her hard work on behalf of our conference. We're almost there, Mr. Speaker. Now, this next person I'm going to mention is going to hate the absolute fact that I'm going to mention her name. But 7 years ago, I approached this brilliant, hardworking, dedicated soul that had laboriously worked for our conference for many years, that I had to coerce. Threaten would be too strong a word, but certainly convince that she would be an absolute instrumental person in helping lead our conference in such a terrific way, with such a great heart, and with such a great commitment. And I really would like to, as always, personally acknowledge and thank and recognize the greatest chief of staff anyone could have, Judy Skype. And the best thing I love about all that is she is really upset with me right now. To the members of the Assembly Republican Conference that are going on to new pastures and new frontiers, as we mentioned in conference the other day, I just want to thank you. Quite frankly, the members that are leaving us, Mr. Speaker, have got almost a combined 60 years of service to the New York State Assembly. And to each and every one of them, I would like to thank them for their commitment, for their service, for their dedication to a very, very tough job. But as Russell Crowe would say, the cause is just. Thank you very much. To all my colleagues in the Assembly Republican Conference, these battles are not easy. And I know to the members and colleagues on the other side of the aisle that sometimes it's a little tough that we are on you about different things, but I can tell you unilaterally, every single member of our conference really truly believes when they stand up and debate, when they stand up and talk about the issues that are very important to New Yorkers, I really truly believe they're not talking about Democrats and Republicans. They really are talking about what they believe is a better public policy, a better idea, a commitment. And when we challenge you individually as sponsors of the bill or as a conference, it's not personal. It's just about a true belief about trying to make our state better. And I couldn't be more proud. And I want to again thank each and every member of the Assembly Republican Conference for all that you have done to try to make New York a better place. Thank you. Okay, we're close. So now there's the next two individuals, and I was very kind to Mr. Morelli to mention them. And but I would like to take them collectively as a dynamic duo, but individually because they bring their own unique style to this floor and all the amount of work that they have to handle and interchange with all of you, and especially Joe Morelli and Brian Coyne. I would first like to acknowledge and thank that dynamic individual from Long Island. Please join me in thanking Tom McKellar. Okay, last but certainly not least, I have a little presentation, Mr. Speaker. I don't know if you can tell, but these are boxing gloves. And I would like to present to Jane Corwin, Jane on the left, and it says, Jane, to our undisputed champion, thank you. On behalf of myself and our entire conference for really showing great class, great determination, and trying to really coalesce all of us, 150 members, to really try to do the right thing. And that's not the easiest job to do when all that we have to handle. But this is just a symbol of what a great fighter and contributor and heart that you give our state. Thank you, Jane. Okay, Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for indulging me and all that. And I would just like to finally acknowledge what a terrific Assembly Republican leader we have in Brian Colt. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Morelli.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, would you please recognize Ms. Schimmel for an announcement?
Ms. Ms. Schimmel for an announcement.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Good night and good luck.
Mr. Morelli.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I now move that the Assembly stand adjourned until Monday, June 20th, tomorrow being a legislative day, and that we reconvene at the call of the Speaker.
The House stands adjourned.